North and South Seafood and Smokehouse presents The Kelly Sheffield Show on 100.5 ESPN and Wisconsin On Demand. Alongside Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball head coach Kelly Sheffield, here's Jon Arias.
Welcome in. It's the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. I'm Jon Arias, joined by Wisconsin volleyball coach Kelly Sheffield. And boy, they made you wait for your name to be called on the NCAA selection show, didn't they?
They did. So going into that, I thought there was only two spots that we were likely to be in. That was the 7 or the 8. Going in, I actually thought we were probably more likely to be 8 than 7. So right when SMU went off the board, I turned to our people and I said, buckle up because we'll be the last team called tonight. We didn't say anything to the team, but the rest of us knew kind of what we were in for.
So what was the team's reaction? Because I know we saw it on the selection show. If you were watching, they were all gathered together. What was the team's reaction to learning that seed, that number 7 overall seed, and their first and second round matches? Hopefully,
I don't care how long you're doing this. Mm-hmm. It is really exciting to hear your name called. I don't care if you're the number 1 seed or which we've been, or one of the last teams selected, which in my career I've been there as well. I don't care if it's your 5th time through this as a player or your first time through it. It's the energy in the room is always exciting. It's an awesome time of year and a lot of enthusiasm from everyone right now.
My daughter wants me to ask you how you feel about being in the same bracket as Nebraska.
Sure. It's, our goal, great question, by the way. And, maybe the best question I've ever been asked. We try not to judge it too much, to be honest with you. Because our goal is to win 6 matches, and you need to get rid of judgment if you're wanting to have success, for judgment of anybody, and just what is in front of you. And let's do our best to execute to the best of our ability, and whoever that is that's who it is. And so I've not really been critical or judgmental too much of who we have. Who's in front of us. I know the committee takes their job very seriously. They work very hard. There's no way they're going to get it perfect, and their job isn't to make anybody happy. Their job is to try to make it as fair as possible with what the NCAA is giving them. And I think they put together a pretty fair and balanced bracket.
What did you like about the way the team ended the regular season? Take a step back with a couple of wins to end at home, including the senior night victory over Michigan State.
I was really pleased. We've been missing 2 vital parts of our team, and and Lola and Gigi, and the energy that they bring. And I've been really, really proud and pleased of the way that others have stepped up, and that's what a team has done. I think Sage Damro's done a fantastic job, in her role, and we've got some contributions from Miley Chan and Carly Anderson and others that have stepped up, and so I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah, you mentioned the energy that Lola can bring to the court and what you've missed from her and Gigi being absent. What did you like about Lola's return to the court? What did you see from her on the court?
Yeah, it's she's getting back in the swing of things. But she's healthy. One of the things we really don't want to have is when anybody has any type of injury, whatever that is we want to try to make decisions where we don't have setbacks, and you can build on top of the days. And I think everybody's gone about things in a way that she can build good days and stretch that out. And so, she's getting back to doing what she does, which is a benefit for our team.
Okay, we've got a lot of fan questions that came in, so
Yeah.
we want to leave that segment a little bit longer today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I do want to talk a little bit more about the NCAA tournament. Is there anything that needs to maybe be cleaned up, and what would those things be heading into the postseason? So we'll continue more, plus your fan questions coming up a little bit later. It is the Badgers and Fairfield in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about it next on the Kelly Sheffield Show. And welcome back. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. The NCAA tournament is here for the number 7 overall seed, the number 2 seed Wisconsin Badgers. They will take on Fairfield University at the UW Fieldhouse on Thursday at 7 p.m. with our pre-match show starting at 6:30 on ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee, WTMJ, and ESPN Beaver Dam. Then the winner of the Fairfield-Wisconsin match will play on Friday night at 7 p.m. against either Tennessee or the number 7 seeded Georgia Tech. So those are the potential matchups for Friday. Thursday is Fairfield. So what needs to be cleaned up before you guys take the court on Thursday? And then throughout the tournament, like if you had like a checklist of things you said, well, if we could get this cleaned up before the tournament starts, this would be at the top of my checklist.
I don't know if anything is cleaned up. I think the phrase that we use is let's sharpen the blade. Okay. Let's, you'd like to be serving as well as, as you can by the end of the year. You probably lock in on that a little bit. You lock in a little bit more on blocking, your offensive routes. You try to stay fresh. Your practices are typically a little bit shorter this time of year. You get in there and get some work done and get out. So, you're not reinventing the wheel at this time. I can tell you that.
Sharpening the blade. Okay, I'll remember that for the future. What do younger players need to know about playing in December? Is there anything that you kind of prepare? I know that the whole season is kind of preparing them for this moment, but is there anything extra you tell them?
Well, you're reminding them that. You're reminding everybody that it's the reason why we schedule the way that we do, and we've got the resources here to help them be the best that they can be. It's you try to find ways to lower their stress. There's a lot going on this time of year with school and sicknesses going around and uncertainty and anxiousness and excitement and just homesickness for some of them, holidays in front, and you have families that come and visit them and significant others, because they want to watch all these. And so sometimes those people put more on your players' plates because of that. They're trying to be great hosts. And, so you're just trying to help them make good decisions, be healthy, remind them to get to sleep. It's the things that we're doing all year long, but they've got to trust the process. And those are things that we're certainly reminding them of.
I've thought, was it probably college football and bowl games and in the volleyball NCAA tournament? There's so many things happen. Not only that, I mean, the weather has changed. You go from like this different type of climate you're in, plus the holidays, and there's Christmas. And by the time the tournament's over, it's like tournament, Christmas, like there's finals. It seems like the most stressful time for student athletes of a lot of sports.
There's a lot, and and then when you throw in player drafts and and people that are graduating this December and maybe job offers and having agents call them and little things like if they're leaving here of who's going to fulfill their lease, because they've got this massive bill in an apartment that is hanging over them and they need somebody else to take over it. And so there's a lot there for all of these guys, for people on all the teams. And so just trying to wade through that because this is the time of the year that dreams can come true, and so you want them to be able to be their best when their best is needed.
And then they have to focus and channel all of that attention toward Fairfield and then either Georgia Tech or Tennessee. So what have you been able to learn about your first round match against Fairfield and then possible second round match against either Georgia Tech or Tennessee?
Yeah, it's well, I can tell you how we approach it. The first weekend is back-to-back days. We play Thursday, Friday. So it's a short week and it's a short turnaround for your second match. So we try to approach every weekend like it's own mini tournament. So it's a 4-team tournament that is here. You win the first, the second one is right there, right after that. And you don't want to dump too much on their plate. You want them to feel prepared without having to dump too much on their plate in a short period of time. So yesterday we gave them a little bit, we kind of watched a little bit of film and kind of talk about the, what is, a bigger picture of what Georgia Tech is. So, we spent about, 20 minutes or so on that, watching a little bit of film, a couple of their hitters, and what is the essence of them. Today we'll do a little bit of Tennessee. And then we shove both of those two, aside, and it becomes Fairfield from then on. And so when we go back and we play either Tennessee or Georgia Tech, it's not this blank sheet. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember they run it a little bit faster to the pin. Oh yeah, this one's got a nice topspin jump server. All right, yeah, I remember that a little bit. So when you're playing on back-to-back days, you have to give them a little bit of the others. The next rounds we have days in between, so you don't need to do that. But this first round, that's how we'll approach it.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about it seems like it's going to be a crash course, but that obviously helps alleviate a little bit of that, studying the night before type of thing. Yeah,
well, there's times that we don't play a lot of back-to-backs during the regular season, but we'll remind them when that happens. And we kind of have done a similar week a couple other times to what we've got right now is, hey, we're going to see this the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament. And so then you can refer back to that. Remember here when we had the back-to-back earlier in the year, and we kind of talked about it this way, and we did a really good job on that second one. So there's some opportunities that you're kind of leaning on as you're getting to this point.
Okay, well, the questions for you, I put the post out on X this week about asking for questions for head coach Kelly Sheffield, and boy, have they rolled in. We're going to ask a couple of those, including what exactly was going on there at the field house against Michigan State when there was how long was that delay? 10 minutes?
Too 15? Damn long.
Too dang long. We'll talk about that coming up next. It is the Kelly Sheffield Show. Welcome back. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse. It's time for your questions. So every week I put out a post on X and I ask volleyball fans if you have a question for the head coach, drop it in. And we've got a ton of questions. So we'll kind of not really rapid fire, but we'll see how many we can get through here. So we talked about it going into the break. Michigan State, there was a little confusion with the lineup. Schumacher was libero. Then you had to change it back to Sage. Can you explain? And there was a big delay trying to figure out what the score was. Can you explain to the listeners who might have been just sitting there doing the wave or doing the YMCA exactly why they were doing that?
Yeah. Well, the initial issue was because of my mistake.
Okay.
We've got a score card that you put the lineup in of what rotation you're wanting to be in and so on and so forth. And there's a spot up there for libero, which we had the number 3, which was Sage, in there the first 2 sets. And then after was
it the third or the fourth?
It might have been the third. Yeah.
Third.
Whenever I made that change, it was they changed their jerseys, and I didn't write on the scorecard 30, which is Lola's. I had 3 on there, and so they came over and said, "Hey, you've got the wrong libero." And I said, And then I tried to, pull a slide one, and I said, on the score sheet it says 3, but do you not see that tiny little 0 right next to it? The official wasn't buying it, I said, well, all right, let me call it. If I call a timeout and they switch, we're all good. And they said, yeah, you can do that. And then I asked them, all right, so we don't lose any points. They said, well, no, just the one where the libero goes back here and serves. I said, fine. So we go, we make the change in the timeout. they get back in there, and all of a sudden I look at the scoreboard, and they've taken they took 2 points away, one from from Lola serving, and then another one. And I walked over there, and they said, "No, that's the right score." And I said, "No, it's not. We've got it all. Anne Marie's got everything on her forms." I said, "Anna Smrek has gotten a block and she's gotten a kill. That was two of those things happened right in front of you." And they said, "All right, we'll go back and watch the film and look at the score stuff." So they went back and was able to boom, 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 boom accordingly. And they came back and said, "No, that's right. You only got 1 point." And I said, "This is ludicrous. There's no way that just happened." And then what did I do? The first thing that I went home that night, I went on there and pulled up the TV version, and Anna Smrek block, Anna Smrek kill.
Yeah.
How they got to that, I have no idea. But it was the initial mistake on my end, and then all hell broke loose at the first table. So I'm not sure. Fortunately, it wasn't the NCAA tournament match, and it wasn't a fifth set or anything else like that. But mistakes happen, but not quite sure how they got to that.
Excellent. All right. So Evan asks on X, and I guess you kind of already answered this, but how difficult, maybe is a different way of putting it, how difficult is it to prepare for the tournament with such short turnaround times between rounds and two? You talked about how you're going to do it, but is it more or less difficult than?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's where you need a great staff, and that's fortunately, it's not one person doing everything right now. Right after the selection show, Jess Williams, she gets to work, her and Ashley Mogg, and those two do a lot of travel stuff and putting itineraries together and talking to people. And then the coaches all get in and start diving into film and looking at, the opponents. These are 3 teams that we're not particularly familiar with, and so there's a lot that goes into it.
I don't think you do this, but we've got a question asking, how do you convince the team that you're the underdog and Fairfield is the favorite?
Yeah, we don't do that. It's no Jedi mind tricks or anything that we're trying to do. We're just trying to play good volleyball and try to let them know that they're prepared for this, and let's be prepared to give everything that we can in every single match that we do.
Okay. Scott asks, flying tomato or Greeks, and I don't know what that means.
Those are 2 elite pizza joints back in my hometown in Muncie, Indiana. Flying Tomato, no doubt, is a great piece of pie to go there and watch the NCAA basketball tournament. I used to do that, and but the late night pizza was probably Greek's Pizzeria that was located right next to Headliners Bar and Grill, which is a place that I was a bartender for a few years. And so you can get a great pie late into the night there at Greek's. And matter of fact, the original owners of Greek's, I used to coach their daughter in club, probably as a 14 or 15-year-old. So big fan of both.
Okay. Muncie, Indiana, if you're ever in the area, Flying Tomato or Greeks any spot is a good spot. Okay. Good to know. Let's see here. This is Buck. He asks, do you have any pregame traditions that might be superstitious? And then he's got another question I'll follow that up with, but do you have any pregame traditions?
No, I don't know if I've got superstition. I'm usually going and, after we get doing some stuff here with the team with film and serve and pass, I typically go and grab a bite to eat and just kind of be by myself and kind of relax. I don't know if it's superstitious more than it is that, I'm hungry.
Just a routine and it's time to eat. And then going into the playoffs, do you try to change mentality at all or try to treat it like just another game?
Well, no, I think it's not necessarily another game. It's the tournament. You play, you move on, you lose, and your season's done. And so I think you try to get your team, confident and feeling like, hey, they're prepared for this. This is the time to let it loose. It's but I don't think it's another game. But I think you are good enough right now to go and meet the challenge that is in front of you.
All right, let's see here. Badger fan asks, it seems that in games since Nebraska, teams have been hitting hard trying to tool our block because it's so dominant. And it says you made a comment after Michigan State about being low and over. Is that one of the keys to advance, especially in later rounds?
Yeah. Just looking at some stats here because we were just talking about blocking. People are either going to attack our block or they're going to try to avoid it. And it's really, if you're scared of it, then you're going to have, it's going to be very difficult to beat us. And so you've got to get your players to attack and not be too scared of it. Where the last 7 matches we're blocking 3.07 balls per set, the exact same number that we have on the season. We're leading the nation on that. The last 7 matches, our touch percentage, touches on the ball, have actually gone up 7%. Our good touch percentage has been about the same. Our air percentage have been about 2 points higher. So we're getting a little bit more touches in the last 7 matches on balls. We're airing a little bit higher, get some tools, but our overall block numbers have been the same. So there's a lot of different things that, a lot of info. It's an area that we work on, we take seriously. Sometimes we're getting some monster blocks, and sometimes they're finding the edges and scoring off of it.
You mentioned, obviously how important serving is going to be, but Alan asks, how do you strike the balance with the tournament coming between preaching aggressiveness on serve versus eliminating crucial service errors? Is there a member of the staff that focuses on coaching, overseeing serving? Is a side question from Alan.
Yeah, it's probably a group effort. I would say probably a little bit more of Anne Marie and myself, probably. We're at 10% service errors, so we're 90% in, which is about the number that we're looking for. That puts us probably right in the middle of the top 12 teams, top 12 seeded teams in the NCAA tournament. I think the low is Nebraska is 6.7, and the high is Kentucky at 16.2% errors. So we're right there in the middle. I think there was a little bit of philosophy with Nebraska. People are actually passing their balls the best in the Big Ten. So I think what they're thinking is, let's not give away points behind the service line and let's defend around it. Our mentality, and I think probably Kentucky's mentality, is let's serve a little bit more aggressively so we can set up our block out of system, our big block, and force these guys to hammer away against a block that is set. And so, we feel pretty good. We're right about where our target number is of 90% in. If it's too much higher, if they're at 95, 96% in, then we're going to tell our servers, you can be a little bit more aggressive. So we want aggressive, but we want in both of those.
All right. We'll have to save the transfer portal question for another day. Unfortunately,
transfer portal is happening this Sunday. It's an exciting time. A lot of going on.
Okay. All right. We'll talk a little bit more about that next. Kelly Sheffield Show, Wisconsin versus Fairfield, Thursday, 7 p.m. at the Fieldhouse. You can catch it on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. And then Friday night at 7, the winner of Wisconsin Fairfield gets the winner of Tennessee versus Georgia Tech. Kelly, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, John.
All right. This has been the Kelly Sheffield Show.